Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
And greetings. Thank you so much for joining me, Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, I am so happy to have as our guest Gustavo Sumi. He has a long list of letters and accreditations after his name, and we'll ask him about those. He is a holistic wellness professional focusing on dance and yoga. He is a professional dancer and instructor, doing myofascial release stretch and many other modalities. After discovering his love of dance at age 7, Gustavo hasn't stopped moving since, and he has perfected his craft by immersing himself in the world of ballet, jazz, theater, and modern dance from Miami to Los Angeles. He's trained with some of the best in the business, including Dancing with the Stars, TEDx, MTV, and Jennifer Lopez. Today, we're going to discuss how Gustavo got to where he is today and what he'd like to share with you on your movement journey. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Gustavo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Gustavo, I invited you on because I am a student of many of the techniques that you teach, and I've taken so many of your classes in dance, in ballroom dance, in yoga. You also teach Pilates. How have you become so deeply immersed in so many aspects of movement?
So it all started when I was 7 years old, and I started dancing. And after dancing for 23 years, I developed plantar fasciitis underneath my feet from so much dancing and pounding on the floor. And I reached out to different formats that could heal my body from inside out. And I found yoga primarily, and the study of yoga, of the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it led me to all these different formats, such as Pilates, body sculpting and training, self-myofascial release, massage, and all the formats that I teach in group fitness formats, personal training, and my students in still in dance. And I try to incorporate all the teachings that I acquire from my masters and teachers into the practice that I do today.
And you do a great job of that. And I will say that you work in many different venues. And one of the places that I experienced your work is where there are a lot of senior citizens. And you are able to bring some of these very advanced techniques to a level where people who don't have your abilities are still able to participate. And that's really the sign of a great teacher.
Thank you so much. Yes. Being able to do that is because I don't have just one teacher or one master, one mentor. I am constantly studying. If not every day, every week, I get different materials online, books, and I do network with a lot of people in the business, holistically, teachers, masters, mentors, professors, even students. I even learn from my students because we're all teachers. And that's what yoga is all about, is honoring the teacher within us and all around us.
I always say that as well. Every time I teach something, I also find that I'm learning from my students. And when you're teaching, you have to also hone your abilities, focus on what you're going to be sharing. But you certainly have a long list of information that I bet our listening audience would love to find out about. Like perhaps they haven't heard of self-myofascial release. What is that, Gustavo?
So actually, it's called self-myofascial release, which is the fascia is the invisible lining, which is the connective tissue around all organs and muscles of the body. It's not considered an organ because, like I said, it is around the organs itself and the muscles because the largest organ of the body is the skin. So this connective tissue, it's a very thin layer that gets stressed, that gets lack of water, and it gets tense like knots in the muscles and knots, and it creates pain, acute pain or chronic pain. And how this fascia works is actually through lack of water, first of all, so that's why we all have to drink plenty of water, but also it's only released with love, with care. It's released by caring for it and sending love to it. So there are so many people nowadays doing high-intensity workouts and foam rolling, sticks and with the balls, but actually the fascia itself needs to be gentle. It's a gentle approach to it, and that's where I found into a self-myofascial release with a little ball about 4 inches and very soft, plastic-made, and practicing yin yoga, which is holding the asanas, which are the postures, for about 2 minutes each, and placing it, per se, in trigger points like your thighs, your calves, on your shoulders, on your sternum, your chest, and releasing that fascia with love, very mild, with very care and mindfulness.
You know, I never knew that. So in other words, you're doing something like the yin yoga class, which I attend your yin yoga class, only then people have this special kind of self-myofascial release foam ball. Where would someone get that? Is that you just look it up online and they're there, or you have to know something special?
Correct. So these little balls are called medicine balls. And medicine balls, and they can be found anywhere online or in stores. And you don't need the ball itself. If you don't have it or if you don't like it, the approach of the ball, you can also do just yoga itself, which is called yin yoga, which is what we call it surrender. So we are surrendering to the outside world. So we're withdrawing from all senses and turning inward, thinking about what's going on inside of us, observing, scanning our bodies from head to toes, and allowing ourselves to be in the present moment. Because things are not explained by the past or the future. Things are explained by what's happening now. And that's what your body needs. It needs attention and care for what's happening now. And the fascia holds all the stress, traumas, all this negativity from the past. It's almost like your little backpack of sorrows. So what you're trying to do here is target those feelings and self-myofascia it and release the stress. It's a trilogy in yoga, which is your mind, your body, and your spirit.
It's an excellent explanation, and I would like to remind our listeners that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse, and my guest today is Gustavo Sumi. And Gustavo, where's the best place for people to find out more about you? I know you have some really great postings on Instagram and Facebook. How would people find you there?
Well, I'm currently working on my website right now, but the best way to reach me, it is at my social media on Facebook and Instagram, which is Be Free Productions. So it's the letter B, and then Free, Free, and Productions.
And you have some beautiful things there of dance classes that you've given, Gustavo, and all kinds of interesting things. So I know you have deeply studied the yogic philosophies, and you were led to it. It's interesting that you were led to it by pain that you were experiencing. And so many healers really were led on their path by needing to seek a way to heal themselves. Like you could have just taken Advil, but that wasn't really going to heal it and make it go away. You looked for really a deep understanding of what you were experiencing and how to begin to reverse it. I know you studied a lot about yoga, the 6 branches of yoga. Not everybody knows there's actually 6 branches. So how would you describe the different ones?
So the yoga, first of all, let me just go back to what you mentioned about the pain and how I got involved into it. Because I was always an overachiever, and I always wanted to do the best in whatever I'm doing with regards to dance. And yes, and I overused and overabused my body. I didn't have something called balance, and in yoga we call the equanimity. The yin and the yang, the day and the night, the sun and the moon. I had no knowledge, or I had no boundaries to myself and even others. And when I reached the point where I needed a break and I needed to find another way to continue to do what I'm doing, which is dance, which is always going to be my passion and my first and foremost way of communication through movement, I realized that I don't have to deal with things in the symptomatic stage. And the symptomatic stage would be like taking an Advil. It's the easy way out. But I had to deal with things in the root level, which the things are not explained by the past, like I said. They're explained by what's happening now. So I was rushing. So I learned not to rush, but to trust and listen to my body. And the fascia itself, it's like that. It's like a place of you that was left unloved, and you're revisiting that point, and you're repairing it, and then you're releasing the stress. And in yoga, it's all about love, spreading love and caring for yourself and others. And that's what I would like to mention in regards to that. Now, the 8 limbs of yoga, actually, they're not 6, they're 8. It's called Ashtanga, which Ashta is 8, and limbs is Tanga. And that's almost like the yoga Bible or the Quran, whatever you want to call it. It's our book. And the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga are yamas, the don'ts of yoga, which are 5, the do's of yoga, which is called niyamas, the asanas, which are the postures, the pranayama, which is the breath control, the pratyahara, which is withdraw from the senses and turning inward, the dharana, the concentration, still-mindedness, completely focused, the dhyana, the meditation, like in shavasana when you finish your practice, and samadhi, which is the union with the divine ultimate consciousness of self with capital S. Whichever that is, whatever you channel, whatever God or whatever God means to you. It can mean energy, the universe, the creator, your self-power, whatever it is for you. It's that attachment to it.
That's a beautiful description, and I'd like to remind our listeners, you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen live online at nccradio.org or on iHeartRadio. For more information on today's guest or topic, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. Stay tuned. Herbally Yours will be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
And welcome back. You're listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College. Thank you for joining us today. This is Ellen Kamhi at naturalnurse.com, your host. And we are visiting today with a wonderful guest, Gustavo Sumi. And Gustavo, as you can tell already, has years of education, focus, and determination. He's a motivational speaker. He runs all kinds of workshops and classes, and he's sharing with us now some of the deeper knowledge that he has studied initially to help himself. Like so many of us are led to this path like a wake-up call. No, you cannot keep beating up your body forever. You need to change your viewpoint. And I love, Gustavo, that you're bringing it into the present, like where you're saying it's not about putting yourself down for what you've done in the past. It's about how are you dealing with things in the moment. And that's an interesting perspective.
Correct. I did many meditations, and I still do. Some of them are regression meditations. Some of them are visual meditations, guided meditations. I mean, there are so many different meditations out there, and there are so many resources. Now everything is so close to us. And one of the meditations that I did, I realized that I counted the years that I still have to live. It's fascinating. It came to me. I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I counted the years I have left in me. It's kind of funny, but it's part of your meditation. It's almost like targeting your Akashic records in Sanskrit, which is your Akasha book, your book of life. And I was counting the years I have left, and I realized that I have less time to live than I have lived so far. And we have 2 lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. That's the message that came to me.
And that's when I realized that I have
to live my life to the fullness spectrum that I can, but with love. And everything in this universe is love.
And so much of what you're teaching really leads to self-healing. And I know you also work really physically. Like, for instance, for people many people suffer from herniated discs and other kind of back pain. So other than a deep esoteric understanding, you also bring it down into body awareness and body healing.
Yes. And that came with me becoming the best of me. And I like to say that I'm never fully complete. And I believe no one feels complete. And even if you're single or if you're in a relationship, married, if you have kids or not, I think in our society the whole thing about feeling complete is misguided. And that's why a lot of young kids nowadays, they are lost and they find refuge into drugs, per se, is because they feel that incomplete sense of self, which it comes from inside out. You are complete. You are enough. And that's another thing. You are enough. And you are becoming constantly the best of yourself. And my practice is recognizing that I am the ambassador of my life, and I strive for excellence, expel myself to excellence every day, respecting others, myself, taking ownership from things that I expect from others, be mindful, always with positive relationships throughout the teamwork and mutual respect with others, the initiative, being prepared to do more when it's required of myself, always being safe with my students, taking personal responsibility for keeping my eyes open, engage into good conversations with people, motivating with true true and genuine efforts and words and things that I'm saying, because my words are my legacy. So I always catch myself, hold on, I'm not going to say this if I am not truly living what I'm saying. You know, and one of my teachers, one of my mentors, she told me that. You know, she caught me. I was doing a video of one of my classes, and I submitted to her by email, and she said, nope, don't say that. You know, and in the beginning I was like, what? You know, I know what I'm saying, but then I realized that no, you know, it's not exactly, you know, the true fact. So I'm constantly engaging myself into learning more and becoming.
I noticed that throughout your description in today's show and elsewhere, you're always giving homage and honor to your lineage of teachers who have influenced you. So who are some of the, let's say, teachers that you really have been inspired by?
There are so many teachers. On the top of my head, I can tell you the closest ones is definitely my therapist in Brazil that I known since I was a teenager, and I went through the whole puberty and finding myself, or not finding myself at that time, because I had no idea how to actually express myself through words, because I was always dancing. So my way to express myself was through movement. And I remember I talked to her recently, and I told her, oh my gosh, I did not know how to tell you how I was feeling or what I wanted to say, because the whole time I was just expressing myself through movements, through the plays or the shows that I was doing. So her name is Tanya Padovese, and she's in Brazil, in a little country city that I lived for about 3 to 4 years when I was a teenager. And she helped me so much, and she still does. And I think the therapy, you know, what I do is it's called holistic yoga therapy, but we cannot call ourselves therapists in as yoga practitioners, because it's, you know, it's not licensed as a therapist, but we can call ourselves holistic yoga teachers. So she's one of them, and also Elizabeth Hoffman. She was my teacher trainee, and she's the one that whipped me really hard, and she told me, no, this is the way. No, don't say that, or no, find a different approach. Be in the present moment. Get off your phone. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to your body. And sometimes we need a little whip, you know, to wake us up.
So I want to remind your listeners that you're listening to Herbal Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse, and my guest today is Gustavo Sumi. And a very good place to find him is on his, like I said, he didn't have a website yet, but on his social media, which is capital B and the word free right next to it. Capital B, capital F, Be Free Productions. And you have a lot of stuff always posted there from all the work that you're doing, the classes and workshops and seminars that you do. And I know, like you talked about today, a lot of young people are quite lost. And how would you say that all these things that you teach, such as dance and the yoga and the spiritual focus, could be helpful for addiction recovery?
So I like that saying that you become what you believe. So if you believe that you are an addict, you become an addict. If you believe that you are sad, you become sad. Now the other spectrum is if you believe you're happy, you become happy. If you believe that you're cured, you become cured. So you become what you believe. So that's the yin and the yang of life. It's that balance. At some point, that's when I woke up, because I developed an extreme plantar fasciitis after dancing of not having balance. So to my approach is understanding. And I do have my own personal demons when I was younger and trying to find that balance too. I know what it is to have addictions, not in a scale of drugs per se, but we all have different addictions. You know, if you drink soda, food, addiction to food, addiction to sunlight, people that go tanning, addiction to sugar. There's so many different sort of addictions. So I tap into that. I try to relate to people to my own experiences. And if I don't know, I always seek for help to someone that, and I always refer out too, if I cannot help somebody. And I think another teacher is more suitable to that client, student. I definitely refer to someone else. I have people in my teamwork that are chiropractors, that are therapists, there are massage therapists. So I refer out if I cannot help that person in a way that I think someone else will be able to do that better.
You know, another thing I think you really bring to your classes, Gustavo, is humor. It's not always so serious. And I think sometimes when people are working really hard to get a position that you have us going through, and you throw something in there that's like, you know, almost makes you giggle. And I find that really, really a healing technique.
Yes, actually that came from the entertainment business. Being in front of the screen, trying to catch people's attention, or trying to get people interested, or keeping their focus on you. And I use that a little bit in my class, is that what I usually tell my students, and I think they know that by now, is that there's no yoga jail. There's no right or wrong. So whatever you do, you're not going to go to jail. Just be in the present moment. Think about the task. Don't think about the thought. And I always throw a joke here and there. I tell people, you know, look at your toes, look at your hands. And they all look at it very seriously. And they think I'm going to say something profound. And I just say, okay, well, just look at your nails, look at your toes, see if you need a manicure and pedicure. So everybody starts giggling and laughing, and it makes a very pleasant environment, because we cannot go through life thinking that everything is black and white, because it's not. There is that gray zone, and that gray zone is fun, is enjoyable, it's soothing, it's caring, it's love, and that's what I'm all about. And my message at the end of the day, if no one remembers anything I'm saying, which I don't care, but I want people to remember that I love myself, and I love every single person that I encounter in front of me.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today, Gustavo Sumi. Wonderful, wonderful information for our listeners. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamhi at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.